All right, let's dive into this Harry Potter thing. We've got some Wikipedia entries here, a bit about J.K. Rowling herself, and jkrowling.com.
Sounds like quite the mix.
Yeah, so we're not just going to rehash the plot, okay? Yeah. We're going beyond Hogwarts. We'll explore how Harry Potter, changed publishing, its real-world impacts, and we'll even tie in J.K. Rowling's own journey.
It's really fascinating, how much there is to unpack beyond the books themselves, the context of their creation, the ripples they send out into the world, and even how Rowling's life is kind of woven into those themes. It's all connected.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1990. J.K. Rowling is on a delayed train from Manchester to London, and suddenly, boom, characters just pop into her head. Harry, Ron, Hermione.
Right there on the train.
Just like that.
That story of inspiration striking in unexpected places always captures the imagination. But it's even more interesting when you consider the contrast between the fantastical world that she was building and her very real struggles at the time. Single mom. She'd recently lost her mother to Emma's living on government assistance. It wasn't exactly a life of magical ease.
No, it wasn't. So it makes you wonder, right, if creating this world was a way for her to escape, to find some light in all that darkness. Yeah. It's not, it's not just a fun story. It was born out of real need.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that reflected in the books themselves. Think about the mirror that shows your deepest desire. That was directly influenced by her grief over losing her mother.
Oh, wow.
And then you have the Dementors, those soul-sucking guards of Azkaban. Many believe they represent her struggle with depression. Pretty heavy stuff, huh? Woven into a children's story.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. You've got Harry, ordinary kid, finds out he's a wizard. Next thing you know, he's off to Hogwarts, this amazing school of witchcraft and wizardry. We learned about his parents being murdered by Voldemort, the scar, the whole deal. It's that classic chosen one narrative. But Rowling sets it up in such a relatable way, like Hogwarts. With its rules, rivalries, it feels familiar, like a school anyone could imagine going to. And then you have those early hints of moral ambiguity, like with Snape. He seems like the villain at first, but this character has so much more to it.
It's like she's setting us up to question everything, right? You think you know about good and evil. You can't just assume who's on which side. Exactly. And that's a theme that really comes into play as the series progresses. And if we connect that to the bigger picture, it suggests that maybe good and evil aren't fixed points, but choices that we make. And those choices, they define who we become, which is something Harry wrestles with throughout the series. Yeah. Especially with his connection to Voldemort.
Yeah. And what I find really clever is how she blends the magical with the mundane. You've got the Dursleys' house, King's Cross Station, ordinary places. They suddenly become these gateways to this hidden world. It's like she's saying magic could be anywhere, even in the everyday stuff.
What's fascinating is how she makes the fantastical feel believable. Talking portraits, screaming letters, maps that show people moving. It's whimsical, but it's grounded in things we recognize. She takes these everyday objects and she gives them this magical twist.
Right. It's that combination of the exotic and the familiar that hooks you. It sparks your imagination while still feeling like a world you could almost step into. But there's a lot more to Harry Potter than just the plot. Some scholars have even pointed out Christian symbolism woven into the narrative.
Yeah. It's definitely a topic of debate among literary critics. Some draw parallels between Harry's willingness to sacrifice himself and the sacrifice of Christ. And the series constantly plays with this battle between good and evil. But it's not a simple, black and white situation. Rowling emphasizes the power of choice and the possibility of redemption, which we see with characters like Snape. Yeah. And speaking of influences, Rowling doesn't shy away from nodding to the literary greats. You've got hints of Chaucer, Homer, Shakespeare, even alongside the expected fantasy influences like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis.
It's like she's woven this tapestry of literary references, adding a layer of sophistication that goes beyond a simple children's story. And this is further emphasized by the moral ambiguity we've been talking about. The characters aren't perfect. They make mistakes. They struggle with their own internal battles. It makes them relatable, human, and ultimately much more interesting.
Right. They're not just these flat archetypal characters. Yeah. They're complex. They mess up. They surprise you. Yeah. Just like people in real life.
Oh,
right?
Exactly.
That complexity is what makes the series so thought-provoking. It pushes you to question your assumptions about good and evil.
Mhm.
to see the shades of gray in between. It's not your typical fairy tale morality.
Right. So for you listening, think about this. Next time you pick up a Harry Potter book or even watch a film, look beyond the surface. Notice those little details, the recurring themes, the subtle nods to other literary works. You might be surprised by how much depth there is to uncover.
It's a world that rewards closer examination. And it's worth considering how those themes of choice and moral ambiguity might connect to J.K. Rowling herself,
Right.
especially in light of the controversies that have surrounded her. But before we get into that, let's shift gears a little bit and look at the incredible impact Harry Potter has had on the real world.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where the numbers become mind-boggling.